Welcome to episode 3 of the How'd You Start podcast. I'm Nick Harrison, talking to business owners, basically how they got started. And today I'm with Ryan Cunningham. Appreciate you sitting down and talking to me, man. So what is the name of your business?
So the name of my business is Triple R Builders, LLC.
Okay, and what do you do?
So I'm a home builder. I'm a state licensed home builder. I do home additions. I also do, a few little remodels. I do procurement for the state.
How'd you start? How long have you been in business?
Well, I've been in business on my own. My dad was actually a contractor. I took over his business in 2004. On my own, I've been in business about 20 years.
Oh, wow. Okay. In that time, you have done the same type of work, building houses, or has the business always done the same thing?
It's always done the same thing.
Okay.
I mean, with a sprinkle of some land development here and there,
one-off stuff,
minor subdivision stuff like that, but it's always done the same thing.
So you took it in 2004.
2004, that's correct.
So you didn't start your dad started it.
My dad actually started it, but he started on a lower end as a subcontractor, and I took it a step higher as a builder.
Okay. Was it still Triple R Builders?
No, during that time, it was Cunningham and Sons.
Okay, and it was subcontractor stuff.
It was subcontractor stuff. So we did a lot of subcontractor stuff for the city of Charlotte.
Okay, okay. Meaning like one specific trade? Or
Well, there were tons of different trades. So a lot of it was procurement. Some of it was board of disability things. So a lot of times you get a call for a home that needed wheelchair ramps or you needed an upgrade for a shower. So we did a lot of that stuff as procurement for the state of North Carolina. Once I took it over in 2004, I took it to another level as a home builder where it gave me more classifications as a builder where I could build from the ground up.
Okay. And have you had your builder's license since 2004?
Since 2004, that's correct.
So you've been in the construction business your whole life?
My whole life.
So let's talk about before 2004. What did you do?
So before 2004, I actually played minor league baseball for the Pittsburgh Pirates.
All right.
So I was drafted out of high school back in 1993 to the Pittsburgh Pirates. Played a few years in the minors down in Bradenton, Florida. Played some independent ball in Spartanburg. Once I finished that, I took some classes at ITT Technical Institute and got an associate degree in electronic engineering.
Okay. You wanted to go do that?
Well, baseball paid for it. So I kind of allowed them to pay for the scholarship because I left high school and didn't go to college.
Okay.
So that was part of my deal. They would pay for college if anything ever happened.
Okay, so baseball through college, they paid for classes.
They paid for all classes.
When you got out of college, what happened?
When I got out of college, they actually paid for me to take my builder's license and home inspector's testing. So at that point, that's when I became a builder. But during the time as a builder, I didn't originally start out building. The first year of that, I actually worked a maintenance job at a place in Payson, South Carolina called Combraco.
Okay.
So I worked there a few months, and my dad was actually working with Habitat for Humanity during that time. So I took a part-time job with them, and I had a home inspector that came to me and said, "Hey, listen, I'm getting a little older. Why don't you get into the home inspection side of it?" So I took the home inspection side, and the home inspection side led into me rubbing elbows with some people that said, "Hey, I have houses I can't build. You have the license. Can you do it?" So I kind of took on some of those, and rest is history.
So what does Triple R Builders stand for? What does that mean? So
Triple R, growing up, there was a ranch that we used to always hang at, and it was called Triple R Ranch. And that name just always rung a bell with me.
Okay.
So when I started out, it wasn't Triple R when I started. It was actually called another name. And that name kind of led people to thinking that I just did remodeling. But I had a builder's license. So changing it to Triple R Builders let them know, hey, this guy doesn't just remodel kitchens or install, bathtubs. He builds houses from the ground. So with that name Triple R, it's just always a name that stuck with me as a kid because I remember growing up there, got my first kiss there, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah.
So that's something that, that just, it's ingrained in me, something I just couldn't let go.
Yeah. So when you, in 2004, you took over Triple R Builders, and it became a general contracting business.
Well, I actually started Triple R Builders. It was Cunningham and Sons.
That's right. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it was Cunningham and Sons.
Right. Triple R Builders started in 2004 as a builder, a residential home builder, and remodeling.
Right.
But you didn't want to put yourself in a corner to just the remodeling.
Exactly.
How before that, up until that point though, did you have experience building houses or just doing the stuff with your dad, the retro? And
Yes, I've always been around it. My dad, as a builder, my dad had someone in the family was always in some part of construction. So I've got an uncle that's an electrician, got another uncle that does concrete, one that does roofing. So we were always around the home building, home repair side, growing up, myself and my brothers.
So when the business started, though, that was the first time you had ever owned a business in 2004.
That's correct.
Now, your dad had.
That's right.
So as far as the business side of things, did you have a lot to learn? Was it easy? Was it hard to start? How did, you had guidance from your dad, I'm sure.
There were a few things that I had to learn. I was always with my dad. So a lot of the things that I needed to learn were just things that had evolved from his old school style.
Okay.
So as far as, the accounting side of it, the licensing side of it, those were things that I was always there when he'd done them. And he pointed to me and said, hey, this is what you're going to have to do. This is what you're going to have to do. So I kind of had it there. So it was sort of easy for me because I was always in the truck, always in the truck. So,
and just absorbing, watching him do stuff.
Just a sponge. Just like a sponge.
The hands-on trade labor type work,
right,
in my opinion, is easier to absorb by watching somebody. But the business side of things, you can't really, in your case, you did. You were able to pick up on it.
Right.
But when you started Triple R Builders in 2004, how quickly did you get a customer? When was your first customer? Immediately?
I think maybe 6 months. 6 months after I made the announcement that I was a licensed builder.
Yep.
My first customer called like, hey, I got work for you like right now.
And was it big job, small job?
It was smaller jobs. And I could, during the time, I could understand, people never saw your work. So when you go out and say, hey, I'm a builder, it's like, hey,
where's your portfolio?
Show me something that you've done. So there was a little bit of growing there that I had to do. So I kind of took smaller jobs and just showed people that, hey, I can be trusted. I can be trusted. I'm going to do this job the correct way if you pay me the right amount.
How old were you in 2004 when you started?
In 2004, I would have been 20 years old.
Okay.
Yeah, almost 20 years old.
Did that hurt you at all, your age? Did people see just a kid when they saw you? Or Yeah. And it was kind of, I always kept in my mind, I wanted to be the youngest builder in the area. Okay.
So that was what I saw. That was what I saw. I didn't really think much about, hey, they're going to look at me like this kid don't know anything. So, me pushing that to try to create a legacy, that part just really didn't like stick.
That almost lit the fire on your butt to go.
Right. It just gave me that drive to say, hey, you know what? Let me show and prove.
So the first job, was there a major screw up or did it go fine?
Oh no, it went fine. It went fine. Yeah.
Planning. Did you have to pull in your dad for some help?
No, he would come. He would come and kind of point things out, which he still does to this day. He still comes and he points things out, but things had changed so much from the time that I took it to the time that, when he was doing it, that when he come along, I just agree with whatever he said.
So how was I don't know if it, you tell me, was it a transition? Was it a break between your dad's business and you starting Triple R? Like, was there hey, I'm going to help you get this started? Or was it a clean break? Did he have his feelings hurt that you wanted to go out on your own? Like, how was that?
No, he was actually excited. I mean, there was a small window there, just in between the time of doing paperwork and switching things over, where, he would say, hey, listen, you've got to have this, and this before you go out and do this, and that. Okay. So there was a small window. I say a few months. Did
he help you get customers? Maybe his previous customers did he refer them to you? Like,
no, I actually, the customers I actually got, I worked hands-on with his company. So a lot of times I would be on the job site when he wasn't there. So I acted as a foreman. So the customers actually saw what I could do without him there. And my first job, they're like, hey, we're going to hire you because we know that you can do the work.
Okay, so the first job went well. Did they, not going through every single job you ever did, but how did it go? How did you go from doing one job to now staying busy full time?
Well, with the first job, they actually went to a bank and got money. So once my name got into the banking system there, I kind of had references from there. So people would come in and say, hey, listen, we need a builder. And the bank would say, hey, call this guy. Call this guy. Let's give this guy a chance to give you a price for it. So that was kind of how it started.
That got going, and then were they the same type of jobs, remodels?
Some different.
When did your first big job hit?
Oh, wow.
And how?
My first big job was actually, I built a home for 2 military Army veterans. And that job, I was actually working with a company, it's actually USDA. I was doing a project for them. And the lady that I was doing a project for, her first cousin was trying to move back to the area out of the military. He was stationed at Fort Stewart in Georgia. His wife was in Aurora, Colorado. And she called up and said, hey, I've got family that wants to move back here, and they want to know if you can find some land for them. And if you do, they'll buy it, and they want to build. They want to hire you. So that project was actually 4-bedroom, 4-bathroom house. That was a slab house on 5 acres.
Okay.
So when I took that one, it was a scary job because it was the biggest one, but at the same time, it was a blessing in disguise because, from there, I networked with a lot of different realtors. She's actually an accountant for the military. He actually owns a few little places that he knows that does cabinets. So he has a lot of storage that he stores cabinets, and his son's a truck driver. So with that, it just kind of like, hey, here's the big one. Take it on or run from it. Do what you got to do.
So 2004, fast forward 4 years, 2008 happened. How did you weather the storm? Or what happened to you? Did you weather the storm?
I did. And what I did during that time, I actually took on a job at Lennar Homes.
Okay.
And I became a construction manager there during that time. I still had small projects that I could do on the side, but it just wasn't enough to kind of, keep the business to where it needed to be, to where it could be competitive with everybody else. So I took that project until things kind of worked themselves out.
During that time, Lennar being a big national home builder, how were things at Lennar?
Oh my God!
Because they're probably feeling the same pain that you were just on how were things then?
Exactly. Things were. It worked out well because the building side I knew. It was just going from custom building to production building.
Okay.
That kind of was, a ladder that I had to climb. There was a little learning curve there at first, but it's still construction. But with that, they were a blessing because during that time, I didn't have anything else. They came in, and actually with working there, I could actually keep all of my licensing, all of my insurance and everything together with my business that I still had. So whenever I decided, hey, I'm going to leave, I could hit the ground and start back running.
How long did you work at Lennar?
2.5 years.
Okay. From 2008?
From 2017 to 2019.
Okay. So, but during the 2008 downfall, you weathered through that fine?
Well, 2008, I took on some projects through Lowe's and Home Depot. So Lowe's and Home Depot, their kitchen and bath sales. I would take on a lot of those projects. So I would drive from here to Savannah,
You were like
Georgia.
the guy that they recommend.
Right.
Or when I go on the Lowe's app and book something, you're the guy they send out.
Well, once you went into the store, and let's just say you went in and ordered cabinets and you wanted to remodel your kitchen. So I'm one of the guys that they would call as one of their subcontractors. So they would call me up and say, hey, listen, we've got this project. It's going to pay this. It's in Augusta, Georgia. Do you want it? Or, hey, we've got this job. It's in Clover, South Carolina. Do you want it? So those projects were what kind of kept me going during that time.
But the bigger full-on house builds slowed down.
It slowed down
completely.
tremendously.
Because
tremendously.
Yeah. But okay, so financially, you at least personally and maybe business-wise weathered the storm, right? And got through it.
Right.
When did you see it starting to get back good again? Because that was 2008 happened. You didn't go to Lennar till 2017. I'm assuming you did not do Lowe's for that whole time.
I did Lowe's and Home Depot from 2008 to 2013.
Okay. So 2013, were things starting to get back good again, or?
Things actually got better in 2010.
Okay.
It was just I had a stockpile of projects that I'd taken on from them because I was under contract that I needed to finish up. So I was actually doing a few little additions on the side myself. Nothing big because I didn't want to weigh myself down. So I took on some smaller additions that I was doing during the time until my contract was up with a company called USIG.
What, so fast forward to that. Things were good after 2010. You mentioned starting Lennar in 2017. was things slowed again then, or why did you?
Well, from 2013, when my contract ended with USIG through Home Depot, I got to the point to where I wanted to do something different. So I wanted to do something different. So I turned down a lot of projects to try to go and do something different. So I wanted to kind of start a food truck. So I started kind of venturing out to that.
Was it just burnout, or was it financial? What made you want to do something different?
It was just, I think I beat myself down too bad with, putting too much on myself during the 2010 to 2013 era. Also, with some of the things that I was taking from USIG, it was projects that I would probably never take, but I needed the money. Mm-hmm. So once I got those done, it's kind of like, hey, when are the big ones going to come? Mm-hmm. Did I make a mistake doing this? Mm-hmm. Is this something I want to continue to do? So I don't really consider it a burnout. I just kind of consider it as, hey, I want to try something different. If not, then I'll fall back to this.
Okay. And that's when you went to Lennar?
Well, in between 2013, in between that time, I kind of went into a food truck business. Okay. And when the food truck business kind of fell by the wayside.
Let's talk about that then.
Yeah.
What was the name of the food truck?
It's Soul to Soul Cuisine, LLC.
What kind of food?
So during the time when I started, I was doing vegan food. And I started on Juneteenth was my first outing in Payson, South Carolina. And I did vegan food. During that time, there weren't a lot of vegans. So the truck didn't do well.
This was 2013?
This was 2014.
Okay. 14.
Yeah, 2014. Okay. So I transitioned over and started doing barbecue. Well, with the barbecue, it was more like I was cooking it and giving it away. Mm. So I had so much invested in it. It was like, hey, I've got to work X amount of time to make my money back to break even before I can sell this food truck. So from 14 through 16 was the food truck, still trying to do a few little, tile floors here, there, cabinet installs here, there. And I said, you know what? Right now, I've got so much money tied up in everything else. I need to get myself back to where I can still be in this field, learn something new with the production side of building, and then come back a little bit stronger than I left. So I wound up at Lennar Homes.
Why food truck specifically? You wanted to do something different from the construction, but did you have a background in cooking? Have you always liked to cook?
I always cook.
Okay, so you enjoy cooking.
Yeah, always
you had at least experience, maybe not for a job, but personal experience cooking. And I'm assuming you at least did a little bit of research and saw there was some money to be made in food truck type stuff. You were going to, weekend events or just?
Some mostly weekend events. I would sometimes set up during the week, like at a Walmart or something like that, and sell, on a Thursday or Friday.
Did the food truck do good financially?
It did pretty decent when I transitioned over. It did pretty decent.
Right.
And one of the reasons I got rid of it was because my daughter was moving to college. My son was going to certification for welding. So we started getting low on, they both had safe serve certifications. Mm-hmm. So we started kind of getting low on, hey, we got to get this license, we got to get that. And it's just myself and my missus was running the food truck. So I said, you know what? I said, this is something we're going to wear ourselves down doing this. So let's try to, get back into the construction side of it. It's going to be more lucrative.
What, was there a lot of startup costs in the food truck?
Yes and no.
Commercial equipment.
Well, I bought the food truck. I actually bought the food truck, and myself being in construction, I put everything together in the truck myself.
Yeah, cool.
So all the equipment I installed myself. Yeah. So it saved me a ton of money on the trailer.
You ended up selling the food truck business? I
sold the food truck business, and it's actually a hot dog guy that has it here in town now.
Okay. And you get a job at Lennar in 2017. Mm-hmm. While you were, during that time, were you still staying busy with side jobs on your own?
I was still staying busy with side jobs. I actually had a lot of jobs that were offered to me that were larger jobs, but I just didn't want to weigh myself down too bad. So I would take something like, hey, a tile job, or I'll take a remodel of a bathroom or a kitchen or something like that, something small that I could just do on the weekends because I was working full time during the week.
Those small jobs, well, even the big jobs. Yeah. How do you? What aspects, let's say you're building an entire house, which parts of the house do you physically do yourself and which do you sub out?
I sub out everything.
Everything?
I don't touch it.
What, now or back then too?
Back then either.
So like a small tile job, you would sub that out?
I would sub it out.
How did you find initially subcontractors?
So a lot of times, believe it or not, they had Craigslist and they had, things like Marketplace and things like that. So I would go on there and put an ad and guys would call.
Did you ever have problems with them not showing up, not doing, fixing damages, coming back? Any issues?
Never, ever had.
Never had a problem?
Never had problems.
Wow. How did you base your, and I'm not looking for exact numbers here, but how did you, for people listening that are wanting to start a business, I'm just thinking like they would think, how do you figure out how to price a job? Because, and the reason I ask, residential construction, there are so many things you can do. We're talking, you're in the general contracting business, but if you were to break that down into all the subcontractors, there's like 30 different types of businesses.
That's right.
You kind of have to know in your position how to price each one of them.
That's correct.
You're having to know your industry, but know all these other industries too. So how do you price jobs in general? Do you have a rule of thumb? Is it per,
So most of the time when I receive a plan for a project, I'll go in and I'll do my own estimating on it based on what the budget is and what the bank's going to be loaning. Then I'll send out RFPs to a lot of my subcontractors. I have 3 plumbers, 3 electricians, so on and so
people
forth.
listening that don't know what's an RFP.
So that's a request for proposal. So I'll send those out, and a lot of times I'll look at them. I never go through and take the largest price or the smallest price. I'll go through, and if one sticks out to me, even if he's the highest priced guy, I'll call him up and say, hey, can you show me something you've done? Can I call some of your clients that you've dealt with? So a lot of that, we'll take that and we'll put that together and we'll come up with a total price for that project without the overhead and the profit in it. The overhead and the profit, we sit down and we discuss in-house with, hey, is this going to be where we need to be on this? Do we need to work with this guy? Do we need to move this guy? Do we need to go back to the client? So that's how we do a lot of it. So it's a lot of negotiation that goes on.
So in that situation, you're not operating a typical business of a % margin. You're backing it. You're going in reverse. You're looking at the client's budget.
That's correct.
And then wondering if we can make money, and if so, how much.
That's correct.
Okay, so let's talk about the ones that the margin is really low. What do you do? Do you still take the job and hope for a referral, or do you turn down the job? How does that?
So we've done it both ways. Sometimes we have to go back to the client and say, hey, we're not the guys for you. We can't do this project. And then sometimes, it just depends. Sometimes we'll take it based on, hey, this bank's going to give us 10 more projects. If we get this and we can show, a good showing on this project here, hey, we'll do well on the next 9 or 10 or whatever the case may be. So it kind of works both ways with us.
So you get to Lennar, you're still doing side jobs. You worked at Lennar from 2017 to 2019.
Correct.
What made you make the leap from being employed to self-employed, making the leap back into owning your own business?
It was just time. It was time. The neighborhood that I was in was actually finishing up. And it was, super close to where I live, my home. And I didn't want to go to another neighborhood, number one. Number two, I just saw where I was lowering my value for myself. With me being a home builder and being at a company, I just saw where, I'm doing the same thing every day, but I'm making somebody else rich off my knowledge.
Okay.
So I said, you know what? I'm going to take a leap of faith and I'm going to go back out here and I'm going to go harder.
Was it a hope and how did you transition? Because the good thing about working for someone is you get a paycheck every 2 weeks.
That's right.
Whereas if you work for yourself, it's eat what you kill.
That's right.
If you don't work, you do not eat.
That's right.
How was that transition? So was it a struggle because you didn't have a lot of work? Because you can't commit to all these big jobs when you're working full time.
Right, that's correct.
But at some point, if you jump to working for yourself, you have to have some sort of backlog and work to go do. So let's say that your last day at Lennar was on a Friday. What did you do that Monday? As an example.
That Monday, thank God, that Monday, I actually got a call like 2 days before I walked out of the door.
Okay.
A family member bought 2 properties in Virginia and was like, hey, I need you to come up and remodel 2 projects for me. And sent me the pictures and I looked at them like, well, this will last me. This will last me for a while.
It'll get you by, get you started.
And his biggest thing was, hey, if you do these 2 and you do them and I make money, I'll keep you busy.
Okay.
So from there, it's like, you know what? Let's go.
Did they make him money?
It made me money.
Has he kept you busy?
It made me money and it kept him busy and it kept me busy and it made him money. It did.
After those got done, though, was it kind of just the rest is history? Or how have you, since then, since 2019, here we are 6 years later, how have you stayed busy with work? Do you pay for advertising? Do you do advertising? Is it 100% word of mouth? Is it friends? What does that look like?
It's all of the above. But one of the biggest things I did was I created a website with a consultation section in it. So I get a lot of consultations. I've actually added on to the business. I do my own blueprints. So with that, I took another leap of faith and I joined the Better Business Bureau.
Okay.
With the Better Business Bureau, it opened some doors for me that I never thought I'd walk through. And with that, I mean, it's just the phone rings off the hook.
Okay. Because the website and the BBB.
Correct.
Do you do paid advertising? Google, Facebook, anything like that?
The only paid advertising, I don't do any Google. The only paid advertising I have is pretty much that website. So a lot of times I'll use like TikTok and I'll put, photos of something that I'm building and the word kind of spreads. And, and I'm friends with about everyone in my area. Yep. So they call. Okay. Hey, I know a guy that needs this. I know a guy that needs that. So that keeps me going.
Did you do the website yourself, or you had somebody do it?
I had.
You paid somebody.
I actually had a company do it for me.
What would you say is if you were to look at a pie chart, is your bread and butter nowadays in new home builds, or is it in remodels, or is it in one-off tile jobs?
It's in new construction.
What would you consider is normal for the workload? For what I mean is it normal for you to have 5 jobs going at one time, 5 houses being built? Is it normal for you to have 25, or what's normal?
You hit the number. The first number was I will not do more than 5 at a time.
Okay.
A lot of projects I do because I do custom. So a lot of the projects I do, they're a longer process. So I try not to put too much on my plate. So I will not take more than 5. I'll only take 2 custom and 3 maybe spec homes during that time, just so I can keep everything close to me, because I go to every job site every day. Okay. So, and I try to keep the same guys that I network with. And if I can keep those 5 going, then later on the 25 may come, but I'm not looking for the 25. The 5 is what I need.
When you say custom, that can mean different things to different people.
That's correct.
Are you doing high-end custom, or just custom as in you're a builder, it's not a national home builder?
So I'm doing custom on both. Both. So I have where I sit down with clients and their architect and we design. Then I have clients that send me blueprints that they buy from sites and say, hey, I want to move this wall and change this and do that, or I want this and that. So I do it on both sides of the spectrum. Have you had any major screw ups along the way? Financially, customer damage, anything since 2004? I can say yes and no. I've had situations to where there would have been major screw ups. There were major screw ups, but having the know-how and having the right people, it's only a problem when you can't fix it. So it is construction. It's built by human hands. Things are going to go wrong. You're going to have supplies that don't show up. You're going to have guys that don't show up. So things are going to happen. But at the end of the day, if you're, promising a customer that you're going to do a quality product, really doesn't matter. You take it on, you get it done, you move to the next one.
What about on the finances side, as far as have you ever done a takeoff wrong or priced something wrong and lost, and you're like, oh my God, it's different to lose $100, but yes. If we're talking big money, have you ever?
Yes. I have. I've had to kind of go in, and I try to always keep working capital somewhere. Okay. So I've had some situations where I've had to go in and actually, to get the project done, I've had to, take that bill on myself. Just because of the way things went. But, that's the name of the game. You're not always going to win. You want to win all the time, but, sometime or another you're going to lose. But, how are you going to take your loss? Can you stand your loss? Can you keep your head above water? So I've always planned ahead. So every job that I go to, I sort of plan to have a loss, but keep my fingers crossed that I can run this project and I win.
Has that worked?
That has worked.
That's very weird. Because it's weird in that most business owners plan for this much margin, this much. That's right. You're planning for a loss. That's right. And that's hoping for the best.
That is where you make your mistake. So when you go and count your money and you spend it before you make it, that's what you're
setting the wrong expectation with yourself.
That's right. You can set expectations in this that are way too high. I tell guys a lot of times, I have younger guys that work with me, and they'll do well on a project and they want to go buy a new car. I'm like, hey, that's not what you do. This is a business where it's going to be ups and it's going to be downs.
Plan for a rainy day.
Plan for a rainy day.
The other people that I've recorded this podcast with, we've talked about the exact same thing. Mm-hmm. There's people out there that will go spend $100,000 in equipment and start a business hoping for the work to come. Right. Whereas you need to buy the stuff based on your business. Let the business bring the equipment. That's and the tools don't. But so let's talk about the tools. Do you own a ton of tools, or since you sub stuff out, is it?
I own a majority of the tools that my subs have because, like I said, I'm always planning for something to go wrong. So if I've got a home that needs to be punched out and the punch guy doesn't show, well, I'm the type of guy, I'll go in and I'll knock it out.
Okay.
I've been lucky enough to not have to do it because I've got a great punch guy, but I own most of my tools. As far as heavy equipment, I have a few Bobcats, skid steers, stuff like that. But I never really have to use them because my guys show up and they bring their own equipment most of the time.
Does that cost you an overhead though?
Well, no, because I actually bought them used. So okay. I bought them used. Some I bought from auction just so that I would have. I originally bought them and didn't know how to drive them. So okay. I bought them to learn how to drive and planning on selling them just to make a profit off of them because I got them from auction and just wound up holding on to them.
A minute ago, we talked about when you were looking for subcontractors, mm-hmm. you would put ads out, mm-hmm. find guys and stuff. But now that you're doing custom homes mm-hmm. day in and day out, is that still what you do, or have you built a team of people that they just know that you're going to call them on every job?
Well, we've done it that way, but now we've implemented to where we'll have a sit down meeting. And with that meeting, and I'll give you an example with procurement. So I'll get an ad for procurement for the state for a project. And those have mandatory bid meetings. So with those mandatory bid meetings, you have to sign on. If you don't sign on, you can't come to the meeting. So once we go to those meetings, the other subcontractors actually see who showed up. So you don't call them, they call you, hey, can I send you a proposal? I want to do your plumbing. So when you show up, they call you. You don't have to call anybody.
What about custom houses though?
Mm-hmm. Same thing.
Okay.
Same thing.
So over the years you get to know a tile guy, an electrician,
right,
a drywall guy,
right, that's correct.
Have you ever had, what's the time that you had a bad customer, if ever? Have you had any bad customers? Either didn't pay, got angry with any?
I've never had a customer never pay me. I've never had that.
Even to the point of having to send maybe a threatening email?
Never had to.
Never had to even go there?
Never had to because I set everything on the table up front. What the expectations are for you and what the expectations are for me. We set it up front. If those two don't match, I'll tell you, hey, I'm not the client for you. I'm not the customer builder for you. But at the same time, I have had situations where I've had a customer that just didn't seem satisfied. But I've learned over the years to make my worst customer my best customer. And it always boils down to, hey, what can I give you? What can I give you? So it's always something that they want that they don't have to pay for.
What's an example?
So I've had a home where, kitchen, for example, there was a island there that didn't have cabinets on both sides. So we framed it in, put cabinets on one side. Homeowner says, well, I want a cantilever so that I can sit bar stools here. Well, you can't do it if you got cabinets there. You need leg space. So we kind of back and forth. And I came home that night and just kind of sat down and was like, hey, it's not going to cost a ton of money. Let me give her a call and tell her, hey, I'll go ahead and I'll do it. Don't tell anybody I did it for you. I'll do it.
Not charging her any extra.
Not charging any extra.
And was this something that was just you didn't discuss in the pre-con meeting? Or?
It wasn't in the pre-con meeting, wasn't on the plans. It's just something, hey, this is in.
So why is she mad at you?
Well, she's mad at me, I guess, because this was a project that she was going to start with a previous builder, and the builder backed out on her. So when she came to me, it's already
bad taste.
I can't stand builders,
Yeah.
So we bumped head on a few little smaller things earlier, but that was a project that I took on that someone else was planning to start, which taught me a valuable lesson. If you have someone that's going to start your project for you, I will not take it if you call me.
So you will not come in behind anyone?
I won't come in behind anyone.
Really?
I will not. I don't care
because of that.
Because of that.
Interesting. Any crazy stories of the best customer, the exact opposite? I'm sure all of your customers are good. You vet them out before you take the job, but is there one that stands above the others?
I've got one. I actually just did this project for her last year. I've done a ton of projects for her, but she travels a lot. So she paid me final payment twice. And when I offered it back, she's like, just save it to the next project.
Wow.
So I think that's one of the best customers.
A lot of trust.
Yes.
A lot of trust there.
Just save it to the next project.
Yeah. Yeah. Is it just you in the business right now?
I'm the only guy.
Do you want to grow it bigger?
I plan on growing it bigger, but my plan is to grow it to where my sons can take it to another level.
Okay.
So I want to take it to a level where I can give it to them and they can take it to a bigger level.
You don't want to get to the point where you have 5 builders working for you under you, or you have no aspirations to do that.
I am happy where I am.
Okay.
I am happy where I am.
How, from the business startup side of things, are you having to work 16-hour days every weekend? No. Or what's your, you said you go to every house that you're doing every single day, but what is kind of a quote normal day?
So a normal day for me.
Let's say a normal week to include weekends.
Yeah. So a normal week for me, just to give you an idea, I may work 15 to 20 hours a week.
Really?
Really.
That is quite the opposite of what most startup, how is that?
Because a lot of my projects that I take, a lot of times they're in the same area. Also, my trades that I have, they communicate well. I also plan so far ahead in my projects that things are there that I don't need for a month or two away. So I never have to have anybody to call me. There's a hiccup with this, a hiccup with that. I may get a text message or email. Hey, you need to come out and take a look at this. This happened. Or I got a window broken in my guy. So I'll go out and take a look, walk around, make sure things are happening, and I'll take off and go to the next one. So I may start that at 8 o'clock in the morning, 11:30, I'm done.
Really?
I'm done for the day.
Are you back at home in the office, or you're just off?
I'm back at home, or I'm somewhere looking for something that I don't have for that project that I can go ahead and get ordered, or something I can get for the next
material.
Exactly. Or looking for a new trade guy, So I may be at a Home Depot looking for a new trade guy or a punch guy or something like that, just because I have another project that this guy can't get to as fast.
So currently you're doing 5 houses.
Right.
Do you still have the remodeling one-off jobs going on, or is that all you're doing?
No, I'm only doing new construction and home additions at this point.
And you said your cap is 5. Is that 5 only, or do you want to get to the point where you're doing 5 houses but also remodel, kind of a separate division?
It's 5 total. So whether that's new construction, home additions, I only take on 5 projects at a time.
And that's just so you don't lose quality.
Exactly.
You don't want to take on bite off more than you can chew.
5 has been a key number for me for a while, and it's just worked. I don't want to go down, and I definitely don't want to go up. So with those 5, it's kept me to where I don't have to work 16, 17, 18 hours a day.
How do you handle if someone calls you right as you're starting a house? You're capped at 5. Do you tell them no, or do you tell them yes, but I'm 8 months out?
I would tell them yes. If you can wait, I'll get to it. Right now, I have this one, but I have this one that's going to finish up. I may be able to start in 3 months. Then I'll wait for them to give me the feedback. A lot of times they wait. But 2, I've had some say, well, hey, I'm going to check with other people, and if I can't find anybody else, I'll call you back.
Okay.
So I get calls every day, every single day. I could do 20 houses, a year or at the same time, but I'll tell them all the same thing. I'm at 5 right now. I don't have any space.
How long does the average house take?
Well, this one, the one that I'm on now, is about 6,000 square feet. So that house will take me about 9 months.
So in a year, you would say you would do between 8 and 10?
8 and 10 houses.
Roughly? How do you, because there is so many people and so many components to the house, how do you maintain a schedule?
Well,
do you make a schedule and send it to all your people, or?
I have a schedule. I actually use a Gantt chart.
Okay.
So I use a Gantt chart, and a lot of my guys use the same Gantt chart. So we'll set a timetable. Let's just say drywall is supposed to take 10 days. We'll set our schedule based on that. And if we can rush that schedule and bump that schedule and keep it rolling, everything falls in place. If not, we have something to look back at and say, okay, this last project, because I've built the same house twice a lot of times. the last project, it took too long in this area. It took too long in that area. So I have some subcontractors that come to me and they have their own chart based on what they have going on. And we'll kind of slide into where we are. Hey, I can fit in here, but I can't fit here. And we just adjust.
That was going to be my next question. Yeah. So you have your trades that you will call, but then they're also doing work for other builders too.
That's right.
So is it tough ever to get lead times with those guys to get on their schedule?
No, not really. And reason being, I keep 2 or 3 of every trade.
Okay. So you're not right. You're not going to monopolize yourself into using one tile guy for all your jobs ever.
Exactly. And one of the reasons being, I had one project where the owner of the company actually was working and using his boys. And his boys got into an accident, so he couldn't do this project by himself. And he's like, hey, I can't take the project. And I didn't have anybody else. So I had to do this work myself in the house just to keep it on schedule. And I said, going forward, instead of relying on one guy, I'm going to have a backup plan for each guy just in case something happens. I may get there and the guy say, well, hey, I need $15,000 more bucks for this. And it's like, no, it's not in the budget. I got to get somebody else. So that kind of led me to saying, hey, let me put somebody in the background just in case that happens. So if not, what happens is those guys, I'll give them an opportunity to give me a proposal on another project. So the same drywall guy on a project may not be on all 5 houses. It may be the backup guy on the other 3 or 4 or whatever case may be.
I see. Yeah. You mentioned only working basically a couple hours a day. How much of that time is, quote, office work?
Maybe about an hour and a half of it.
Okay.
Because a lot of the office work I can do sitting in my truck.
Because there's a lot of money coming in and there's a lot of money going out.
That's right.
On the regular, you don't want your guys don't want to wait 6 months to be paid. Right. They want to get paid in 30-day terms or whatever it is. So you're having to kind of manage that. Hey, we're ready to pay you for this job. We're ready, That's right. And then the schedule, and then the homeowner meetings, and so it is a lot to juggle. But with 5 houses, you're able to manage it.
That's right.
Fine, And no plans for new employees in the future. No plans for. No. I don't want to sound cliche, but is there anything that you would say where you see it in 5 years, kind of thing, or is this? Are you truly happy? I won't say truly happy. I know you're happy. Truly happy where it's at now.
I'm happy with where it is right now.
And this is the peak, or do you want it to be?
Well, I'm happy where I have it right now. Like I said, the next 5 years, my youngest son is actually a freshman in an aeronautical school in Florida. So in that 5 years, I plan on passing it over to them. So I don't want to take it to a level to where I've got to go and show them 15 years of work where I can show them 10. So it's easier to take at this point than it is if I take it to another level.
Are they around it a lot like you were around it with your dad?
Yes. Oh, yes.
So will the transition be easy for them to take?
It'll be very easy.
Do they want to do that?
I have one that does and I have one that doesn't.
Are you going to try to convince him?
I'm going to try to convince him. He's actually a certified welder and he loves what he's doing. But he and his brother are super close. And his brother is the younger one is kind of like he's guidance counselor of the family. Okay. So he can talk anybody into anything, you know what I mean? He's calm. So I think, when it gets to that point that they both will maybe sit down and say, hey, listen, I can do this much if you do this much of it. Dad wants us to do this or he don't want us to do that. So I keep my fingers crossed, but
that's your exit strategy?
That's my exit strategy.
To them?
That is my exit strategy. I plan on retiring at 55. I'm 50 years old now.
Really?
Yes.
Do you have plans for retirement?
I don't.
No moving, hobby.
Well, let me take that back. My son's in Daytona Beach, so he's actually a freshman there. The school he's at, he gets to live on campus his freshman and sophomore year. So he's going to try to do it in 3 years instead of 4. So with that being said, his junior year he can't stay on a campus. So I'm either going to have to rent him somewhere to stay his junior year. I'm going to have to buy a spot there. So I'm thinking of buying a spot there.
Okay.
And maybe when he gets out, I'll just move there.
Do you, something we haven't really talked about, did you ever consider doing commercial?
I did. I've actually worked with some guys. I've actually did superintendent work for a buddy of mine that is a commercial contractor. So he actually owns a commercial construction company, but he's working for the city of Sumter, South Carolina. Okay. So that's his day job. Construction's his hobby. So he takes on projects, and I actually talked him into construction from Mack Truck down in Williamsboro some years ago. So he takes on those projects, and a lot of time I just run them for him because I schedule.
You don't want to take them under. No. You don't want to do or commercial.
No.
Just too much headache. Or too much risk.
I just don't have enough people to call me for commercial. I just don't have enough. I may get one phone call every quarter for something commercial, which there are larger projects, but with the 5 that I have going on now, it's enough for me. Okay. It's enough for me.
All right. What we'll get close to wrapping this up. People that are thinking of starting their own business but scared to do so, any advice?
All I can say is if you dream it,
do it.
You can do it.
All right.
You can do it. Don't be afraid. The only time we'll know if we can do something, and if you want to know what you're worth, go and work for yourself and you'll find out.
Okay. Yeah. Do you want to mention your website in case people do want to live around here?
So the website is rrbuilders.org.
Okay.
And to book us for consultation, just go to the services page. There's 2 drop downs there. One's for new construction, one's for home addition. It'll ask you to fill out some simple information. You'll get an order number back, and someone will contact you about a consultation.
All right. Sounds good. If you're watching this on YouTube, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you're listening it, leave a 5-star review on your podcast player. Appreciate your time, Ryan.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you, man.